after he saw the light, his response was, Lord, acknowledging him who he is, the God of all creation. Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? Lord, what do you want me to do? I'll do anything because I've seen you. And I think that's the most wonderful thing that can happen in a new believer's life, when you understand who it is that has plucked you out, who wants a relationship with you, and for you to then to be able to say to him, okay, I'm yours, what do you want me to do? The epitome of servanthood. Servant to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Right?
Well, what else, honey?
Okay, so these are kind of general questions. What was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
Play baseball.
With who? A team or just your friends?
What, honey?
Who did you play with, the team or your friends?
Oh, I played a team, championship teams when I was a kid.
Played with kids too, just
Yeah,
on the street
Yeah.
when you were little.
And to see Joe DiMaggio play the first 4.5 innings, and Mickey Mantle play the second 4.5 innings in Cleveland, Ohio,
How
was
old were you
probably
then?
the biggest
How old
fun
were you
time.
then?
Well, it was Mantle's first year, 1951.
Oh, you were not a kid then.
Well, that was baseball experience.
Oh,
How old are you then?
1951?
Yeah.
How
20.
old was I?
20? 21?
I was born in 36.
Oh, wait a minute, okay. all right,
46.
I'm not thinking, I'm sorry.
I was a kid. Okay, Graham.
What did I do?
What was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
Play hopscotch.
No, I didn't like hopscotch.
Okay. Play jacks.
I like jacks. My favorite thing was to play house. I loved playing house. I loved making simple things in my own home represent a house that I was making. Like kids do, take a blanket and make a tent out of it. You know, move my mother's furniture around, so to speak, put a table here, and then so on and so forth. And then my sister and I would play. I was very close with my sister Bernice in regards to those days and playing. And we would play grocery store. See, I loved going grocery shopping that far back.
Next question.
We would take all the cans out of my mother's cupboard and you know, we'd sell them to each other or to someone else or so on and so forth. This was all in a small home that, you know, we occupied ourselves that way. I always liked to decorate. So we had no paint in the house, but my mother said, well, if you want to do something like that, she said, go paint the entryway of our home. This was on 18th Street, that little near the cellar entrance. And so I took a little bit of paint that I found in the basement, put water in to thin it out and make a greater supply, and it was called whitewash. Whitewash. So I painted, and I was probably about 11 years old at that time. That's it. Crazy. good, clean fun.
Who was your best friend growing up?
Well, I had a cousin who was my best friend, my cousin Freddie, and then the rest of them were all buddies. Fernandez, DeFucci, DeVecchio, Vitelli, Jacobosi,
All Irish kids.
a lot of kids. Yeah,
They were all Irish, it sounds like.
they were all Irish.
Who else? Anyone else?
Montevecchio, Donatucci,
You already said that.
Carlucci. Who else?
I don't know. My friends.
You didn't hang out with them, Graham?
Not for a split second.
Ooh!
My father wouldn't let me be on the sidewalk.
Were those guys in the Icebox gang?
Yeah, absolutely.
They what?
Icebox gang.
The icebox. Oh yeah, okay.
And why was it called the Icebox gang?
Because there was an ice house on the corner where we hung out. At that time, our families didn't have refrigerators. They had ice boxes where you had to get ice delivered every week to keep your food cold.
You got a huge
Chunk
cube
of ice.
of ice. What was probably about
Not big. They had a big
almost
fork and they would
2 feet by 2 feet square cube. A cube.
and they would put it in the ice box at your house. Had to deliver it. So
The iceman would come and he had huge tongs that were pointy little things that would go into the thing, and he'd lift it up
Yeah.
and put it in your box.
And
which
each
was
neighborhood had their own, their own little ice house on the corner. Ours, the one on 17th Street was owned by, and the one on 21st Street where we live was Mr. Garpetti.
oh yeah,
The ice
I
house
remember
was
that
in the
name.
it was in the next block from us, and his grandson was one of my good friends, Nicky Garpetti.
Now what?
Who was your best friend growing up?
I already told you.
Your Aunt Bernice? Or your sister
Yeah,
Bernice?
sisters. And there was a big age difference between myself and Aunt Charlene, who was born many years after. I was 13 when she was born. So that occupied my life considerably, because as a 13-year-old, I was infatuated with the idea of taking care of a little girl. You see, so I really didn't have a lot of extra time on my hands, and there were no little girls in our neighborhood on 18th Street. Donna Mae Bongiorno, but she was a lot younger, and we just didn't have a lot of time to just be playing down the block or anything like that, which we weren't allowed to do anyway. My father was very protective and wisely kept, a good hand on me and my sister. And as I said, family fun occupied us, so we didn't have really a whole lot of need to explore.
Did you have a curfew growing up?
He didn't, I did. I mean, the curfew wasn't really necessary for me because, as I said, it was the backyard and the front step, and that was it. Not because there were horrible people around, because neighbors took care of their children, but my father just made sure that his girls were protected in every sense of the word. Curfew? No. I was a night owl from day one, and but it was, so to speak, an in-house. No bars were there, as far as having fun, baking, listening to the radio, right? But
Yes.
he had no curfew
You didn't have a curfew, Grandpa?
because. You want to explain it?
Did Aunt Pearl have a curfew then?
She was raised like grandma.
Ah! So the boys got to do what they wanted?
Exactly. That was
Well,
a terrible mindset. That boys could be boys and not protect them. That's my opinion.
Next
And that
question.
wasn't just, that was not just his parents. That was across the board, no matter what it was. Boys, whether it was Europe or the United States, so on and so forth. The only place that was different was in the church community. And once there was that kind of organization and fellowship and brotherhood and sisterhood, then they watched over each other. And in the earliest times of our country, when the lights went out, you'd better be home, period. But that wasn't in the 40s and 50s. The lights were on.
Next question.
Can you tell he's done?
So I guess that kind of answers the question, were you not allowed to do certain things growing up?
There was not a lot to do. That's what you said.
No, you
There were
weren't allowed
certain
to do
things you
certain-
weren't allowed to do growing up.
No,
Oh,
there
my
was nothing.
goodness.
Back then, honey, there was no television. There was nothing. You played whatever, you
You
know.
played in the street.
Yeah.
You played in the house. You made your own little race carts. If there was a derby, you had months to prepare for that by making your own equipment and
Next question.
simple. It was a simple life. It's very sad to see that simplicity has been something that has been denied this generation. And we were satisfied. This generation is not satisfied.
Next question.
Where is your favorite place to eat in your hometown?
What is it?
Your favorite place to eat in your hometown?
In a hotel?
No.
Hometown.
In your hometown. Mine was Stefano's. My friends owned the restaurant. When I was a kid, my mother would take me to Scott's every Saturday morning or the Boston store for lunch. Not every Saturday morning, but that, you know, when I would go shopping when I was a little kid with my mother, it was always either Scott's on Peach Street or the Boston store.
I liked the Boston store the best because they had mashed potatoes with gravy, and chicken pot pie, which was my favorite.
Next question.
So comfort food, it was comfort food.
Yeah.
It was comfort food because we had the best food at home as far as Italian style food.
Yeah.
There would be no way that I would ever. Today, I don't even like to eat Italian out.
Next question.
What was your mom like?
My mom was great, period. Go ahead. Answer the question.
You better answer it.
I did answer it.
Did you? Can you tell he doesn't want to say anything more?
That says it all.
Nothing else you want to say about Nana?
That was it. There's nothing else I can say.
Or Papa?
You
Well-
observe her. You observed her as a mother.
Yeah.
You observed her as a wife. You observed her as somebody's friend, and that's all you can say. She was great.
My mother was great.